Well, a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Delta T Racing. It's Thursday night, so it's time for Division 5, coming from the Marina Bay circuit in Singapore. 31 laps we'll be taking of this 5-kilometre circuit, 23 turns, 10 to the right and 13 to the left. So coming from China last week, what we will do, I'm just going to jump on with Prize Phantom as he's the first one out, so he's normally the one that I jump on with. Whilst we are doing that, we'll just bring up the table at the moment. As you can see, Havoc Connor leading the way with 45 points in the Mercedes, closely followed by Kazernikov in the Aston Martin with 30 points. Third place going to Hans Boer, so two winners from two races, so it's good to see obviously Havoc and Hans Boer both with a win each. Hans Boer last time out in China and Havoc winning the opener in Bahrain. Two fastest laps of the season, both gone to Havoc Connor, and the pole positions have been spread between Kazernikov and Hans Boer. So rest of them obviously following Skipper doing well on 27 points there, Cruder on 15, Composite on 14, MBB 12, and then we go down obviously from Jurek not here today. But that also will bring up the constructors with Mercedes leading the way on 57 points from Ferrari on 39 points, closely followed by McLaren and Aston Martin both on 37. So early days, yeah, only 2 rounds gone, but obviously I think they will be the 4 that will be fighting it out. But AlphaTauri, I think, will be hoping for a bit better this week with the return of Nerdy, unable to make last week's race for personal issues, but he's back this week and will be looking to make amends, I am sure. So on board with Prize Phantom will be the first to set a time, going into the tricky turn 1, 2, 3 sector, so easy to invalidate or spin it there. We saw a bit of incident there in Division 4 yesterday. Here he goes now down the long straight. Out round turn number 7. Okay, looks nice and clean so far. We'll see obviously what time he's going to set. I think we could be looking... So 37... 37.8. Let's go for a 37.8 and we'll see who can beat that for us. Though Prize Phantom car getting out of his way, they're coming round now. Completed sector 2, obviously sector 2 going purple, but he is the only person to set a sector yet. As we see coming into the last sector, and he has aborted that. So who do we have? Is it Chef JB? Just trying to think who it is. I think it's Kazernikov will be the first to actually cross the line now. So he will be the pace setter. We'll see what time he will put on the board. That's 39.0. So I think there's a lot more time left in that yet. Who is next? I'm not quite sure. We're going to jump on with Dr. Scenic, just coming through the last few sectors now, or few corners now, towards the last turn, 22 and 23. It is taken as 1, puts him 39.8, so jumps him up into P2 currently. Nerdy will be next to cross the line. We'll see if Nerdy can smash that 39.7. So pops him up into second place. So 7/10 behind the early pace setter of Kazernikov. Who do we have next? Composite, I missed, jumping up into 4th place there. Sticking on board with MBB at the moment, coming towards the end of the lap. I will jump on with some people later. We'll do full laps rather than just catching them at the end. And MBB putting a 1:40.047 in there. So I think these times are going to get quicker. Whether we'll get down into the 37s, I'm not sure. I think we're, well, 38.4 straight away there from Hans Buer. And Susasino, sorry, apologies, going into third there. So let's jump on with Havoc, who is on his hot lap now. So we'll see how he does in time compared to Hans. Obviously, there will not be any sectors for the moment. Approaching turn number 10 there, the old Singapore Sling as it used to be. Don't know who that is in front, but they really need to get out of the way. They're not taking any notice really of a faster car approaching. Got out pretty much, I suppose, as quick as they could, but I think there was perhaps an earlier opportunity. And double there of a disqualification. Very slowed down in the pits to let cars through, and the game has disqualified him. Won't be the first time something like that has happened, and I'm sure won't be the last. So here we are on board with Havoc now coming through into the last few corners. And turn 21, you've got 22 and 23 to go on to start-finish line. Looks like just pop into the 39, so 39.3 puts him up into fourth place. So at the moment, Hans Buer with a fantastic lap there to put him on provisional pole. Chef JB coming into the pits. I think Sousa behind him is coming into the pits as well. The skipper looks like he could be on a lap, so we'll stick on board with him for a moment. The only other one that could be is the mighty Frax, who's stepping in tonight as a reserve. There's a few drivers missing with the Christmas period. So no, he's into the pit. So we'll jump back on with Skipper and see if he is putting a lap in. I don't know, he's not at that time. So he will be coming into the pits as well. So the only person not to set a time so far is Prize, who is now out on his hot lap. So we'll see what time he can put in. We're currently 14th of 14 runners with double already disqualified. Coming towards the technical section. Obviously you don't want to run too wide there because you will invalidate your time. And here just catches the curb nicely, not too much of that one. That's a good line. Coming towards the last couple of corners now. We'll see what time Prize can put on. Currently with no time, so anything is going to be better. Looking up at the clock, it doesn't be too bad. 39.316 puts him up into fourth place, just ahead of Connor there. We now have some people going out on their second run. Skipper won't because he hasn't got enough ERS there. Dr. Scenic isn't using any of his, so I think he is just about to start a lap. So Kazernikov is the first on his second hot lap and already 700s up, nearly 800s up. Needs to make a bigger improvement on that on Hans Buer, over half a second clear at the top of the leaderboard at the moment. So Hans, who's also a regular in Division 4, so a shout out to him. So good racer, and I think he's improving week on week. Obviously with that win last week, so go along. Be hard to improve it this week, but currently sitting in a very strong position. So 2 purple sectors now, I think, for Kozernikov just coming round to the final sector now. I think he's lost a bit of time here, might be looking at a high 38. 38.2, so a low 38 puts him into pole position. So 3 purple sectors there. Hans Buhr just behind is now starting his fast lap, so we'll keep an eye on him as well to see what he can do. Needs to improve by 2/10 now, so it's a cracking lap by Kozernikov. Hans now on his second run. We'll still have time to come in and change and go out for a last run on the sauce, but takes purple in the first sector. 1.5 hundredths of a second up. Apologies for the lack of commentary there, just reading a couple of messages. Looks like I think we could potentially have a wet race in this one. I'm just checking the stats now if there's anything that I've got that will actually tell me. We will see, but anyway, Hans coming around the last sector now to put in his second run time. This looks quicker, to be honest with you. I think this could be 38.292. So it is quicker, but not quick enough to dislodge Kozernikov at the top of the leaderboard there. Who is next going around? I think it could be Nerdy. Let's jump on with Nerdy. No, he's on the back sector, so it is his teammate, the Chef JB, will be next to cross the line. So 39.825 improves up into 8th position for him. We then have Pete the Pirate, missing last week, I think. I don't remember him being here, but puts in a 1 minute 41 lap there. He had said 5 minutes, that was unless he was on a very slow out lap. Mighty Frax is up on his time and improves from 14th up to 10th with a 2.3 second improvement on his time there. Nerdy now coming into the final sector, 0.36 up. It's going to put him about a 39.4. Needs to find more than that, and he's 39.109 up into 5th place. So great final sector there from Nerdy. Who is next out there? I think we've got one of the Ferraris. Is it Composite? Yeah, Composite's actually pitting just when I catch up with them. So Souza Sino is next across the line, and he is going to abort that lap as well and come in. I think Hans behind him is coming in. So who do we have on a lap at the moment? Is Havoc on a... No, he's on a very slow lap. So this is Havoc's out lap. Be interested to see what his tyres are. Yep, so he is now starting his hot lap. And we have somebody off. Pete the Pirate is out in... Where is he? Said he was there somewhere, but I can't see him. Okay, so we'll jump off of that anyway. We'll go back to Havoc, who is nearly 800 up on his best time at the moment. So obviously a green sector 1 for him, but not purple. Needs to improve over a second to get himself onto pole position. I think that's a big ask. But then if we do have a potential wet race, we could have a mixture of strategies, or certainly of setups. But what kind of wet race is it going to be? Wet to dry, full wet, intermediates all the way? Soon find out. So 2 minutes left on. Oh, Havoc has invalidated on that one, so he will probably come in, put a fresh set on. We'll just about get out in time, I think. So who is next? I think it's Prize Phantom. Let's jump on with Prize for this last sector. He is up on his time by 300ths of a second. Well, he's now up by 3/4 of a second. That's going to put him up to about a 38.5. This could jump him up into the top 3, and he's pulled out for some reason. Why has he pulled out? Because he's invalidated. Right, okay, that makes sense then. Not going to charge his ERS up enough by the time he gets around to the start-finish line, though. Certainly going at that speed. Could be pretty dangerous, to be honest with you. But MBB coming out of the pits now. So next through, I think, we have the Alpha of Souza. I think he is going to pit, which will mean that that is his run over for the day. So with now a minute left on the clock. So mind you, he is going for it again with 80% ERS. So jumping back, Phantom has invalidated Hans Boer, improves to 38.292, does he? Hasn't improved in position, not sure. I saw an improvement there, but I don't actually trust this game. Kosernikov coming round for a last. So it'll be a last hurrah by Kosernikov. Hans Boer just in front of him. But is there anybody else that can pinch this away from him? Souza is probably the furthest round. And can Nerdy improve on his current? But he can't. He's invalidated that lap. So that's the end of his chances. Okay, so Havoc Connor has finished now. Will not qualify any higher than 8th position. That's it'd be a bit of a blow to the title leader, especially at Singapore, but obviously with the potential of wet conditions coming, you never know what is going to happen. So sales are now coming into the final couple of turns to see what he can do. .38.1 puts himself onto provisional pole with a cracking lap there. Hans Boer now is next across the line. Can he improve and take pole position? Coming across the line now, it's going to be a 38.213 second place, so he does improve on his time. But unfortunately not on position. Well, back up to second, but that's where he originally was. Kosernikov now coming round the final corner. Can he snatch pole position away? Can with a 38.039. Skipper has aborted his lap. Composite, I think, is next. We'll see what time he can put in, a 39.277, leaving just Chef JB to complete qualifying. But a cracking lap there by Kosernikov, 38.039, taking pole position from Souza in the Alpine with a 138.126, and Hans Boer in 3rd position in the McLaren with 38.213. So pretty close at the top, sort of just over a 10th and a half separating them. So it'd be quite interesting to see how this goes in the race. But Kosernikov there taking a pole position. I think 2nd pole position of the season after getting pole in Bahrain. Currently 2nd in the championship. Will certainly be looking to extend that as much as he can. So running through the grid, Kozelnikov taking pole position. Then we have Salza in second, Hansbauer in third, MBB full skipper fifth, Chef JB in sixth, seventh is Nerdy in the AlphaTauri, Composite in eighth, Prize Phantom ninth, Havoc Connor in 10th. Then we have Dr. Scenic 11, Mighty Frax 12, Fairy Tale 13, 14 is Pete the Pirate, and 15th, unfortunately getting disqualified, was Double, but he will start last on the grid. So we will come back shortly to see if we have a dry race or if we have a wet race.
So here we are, after a breathtaking qualifying yesterday, the cars are taking their final positions on the grid today. It's time now for the Singapore Grand Prix. It's a 3.1 mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and 10 rights of mostly slow corners. But we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard.
Well, welcome back everybody. As you can see, it is absolutely chucking it down. I think we are on wet tyres for the start of this race. We are indeed. Let's just get the spectator bits ready. At the beginning, I'd like to have the position change just so we can see where everybody is. Right, okie dokie. So Kozelnikov taking his second pole position of the season for the Aston Martin team. Salzacino behind him in the Alpine. Then we've got Hansbauer, the current championship leader in... is he the championship leader? I'm getting completely confused now. Let me just pop that up ever so quickly. No, Havoc Connor is championship leader, currently down in 10th position, and Kozelnikov obviously on pole in second place in the championship, and Hansbauer third in both the race so far and the championship. So they will be looking at trying to maximise some damage if they can on Havoc, obviously looking to get through this field. It's difficult at the best of times, let alone in wet conditions. MBB in fourth place, Skipper in fifth, has done really well this year so far in the Ferrari, pretty consistent, so I think he'll do well today. Should bring home some big points. Then we have the AlphaTauris of Chef JB and Nerdy, so teammates next to each other on the grid. Second Ferrari of Composite in 8th place. Just look at the tyre strategy there. It looks like wet, wet, wet. So I think we could have a wet race all the way through. Time will tell, but it does look that way. So Prize Phantom anyway in the Alfa Romeo. Then we got Havoc, as I say, down in 10th. Dr. Scenic in the second, Alpha in 11th, Mighty Frax in the second, McLaren down in 12th. Then we have Fairy Tale, Pete the Pirate, and somewhere at the back there we have Double. No, it's Pete the Pirate actually that must have spun and is now at the back of the grid. So once he joins the grid, we will be ready to go. Hansbauer, they're getting disqualified. He's not disqualified for the race, obviously just missed his pit marker. So here we are just waiting for Pete the Pirate to get into his grid position, which he has now done. So the green flag at the back would be waving. The first red light on. 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights are on. And we are go at the Singapore Grand Prix, and that is a good getaway by Kozelnikov. Sales are also on the inside, not getting too bad a start. MBB and Chef JB, and straight away we have a spinner, which is MBB, unfortunately getting caught on the inside there. So we already have our first crash. Quite common to have one there, unfortunately, round the first corner. But hopefully everyone else will get round pretty safely now. We seem to be onto the back straight, so we should get it evening out a bit now. Right, okay, so Kazernikov taking off from pole position, followed by Salzacino directly behind him. We have Nerdy's out. Oh, Nerdy, what on earth has not been your season, buddy? So Nerdy Average Gamer is out of the race on lap number 1, and I don't think we have a safety car, just a localized yellow in that area. Oh, Nerdy. Never mind, buddy. Get Christmas out the way and come back in Australia. And hopefully your luck will change a little bit. But we have a safety. Is it safety car or virtual safety car? I can't see that the safety car is out on the track, so I think we are just under a VSC. Yep, so VSC is what we have at the moment. Obviously just neutralises the field whilst they push Nerdy's stricken AlphaTauri behind the barriers. We should be racing again shortly, as I can see that the obstruction has been cleared. But look, I mean, top 3 obviously getting away as is, but Dr. Scenic making up 6 places, Fairy Tale 7 places. I think that obviously is due to spins in front of them, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You've got to be there to take advantage of it. So yeah, predicted pit strategy is a 1 stop on the wets, really. So I think we are going to be wet all the way through this race. So I'm not quite sure what happened to Nerdy there. Obviously ended up in the wall, but right, so we are back underway now. Virtual safety car is in. We are back under racing conditions. Sorry, I got a bit confused there with Salza being 2 minutes 11 behind. I think the scoreboard is messing us about a little bit at the moment. We'll keep an eye on them, but the Mighty Frax is pretty close to Fairy Tale in front. Seems to be the closest on board at the moment until I can get these gaps back up and working, which probably won't be until we cross the line. But I also noticed a couple of drive-through penalties there for Fairy Tale and for Composite as well for speeding under the safety car. And Pete the Pirate is out, same place as Nerdy, so perhaps they could probably stop and have a drink, to be honest, but they both seem to be out in exactly the same place, which is turn number 7. So, but obviously so soon after a virtual safety car, we're not going to get another one at the moment. But jumping back, Havoc and MBB, who do we have off the Mighty Frax? Just overshooting that corner, easily done. But Salza is on the hunt of Kazernikov now, half a second behind. So this is the closest battle that we have on track at the moment. Fairy Tale and Havoc into the pits. Havoc had front wing damage. He's gone for a set of inters. They're taking a gamble here and going for a set of intermediates. We'll keep an eye on his time to see how he gets on. What we'll do is we'll actually put the gap to the leader at the moment, and we'll see just what that gap just what that gap is over the next couple of laps. We'll soon find out whether the inters are quicker or not. So Kozelnikov still leading from Salza. Hands dropping back just a few seconds, but he's got a big gap behind him to Skipper. So the battle really is... Oh, what a crap camera angle. The battle really is on between Salza and Kozelnikov in the early stages. Go decent-ish camera angle. So yeah, Souza keeping just within that second. Obviously no DRS, so it doesn't aid getting too close. Sometimes you can just pressurize them and wait to see if they make a mistake. But Havoc 41.1 seconds behind now. Obviously give it a lap for sort of tyre warm-up and adjustment, and then we'll see what kind of times he's putting in as to then whether everybody else should be thinking about it. So fastest laps are coming in now. See, the track is drying slightly. I think we could be heading towards the point of intermediates. It is still raining, but it doesn't seem to be many puddles on the track that there was early on. So it could be that the weather is easing up, or that the obviously constant driving is reducing it. But just keeping an eye on Havoc at the moment. There doesn't seem to be a lot of difference between and Mighty Frax spinning there coming into the pits, but Havoc moving up a position there. They're still 41.1 seconds behind. So Fairy Tale into the pits as well. Is that for damage? So it seems to be behind for Mighty Frax and Fairy Tale. No, I think Fairy Tale's just serving his drive-through penalty, so he gets rid of that now. But at the front, sales are still keeping that honest. Kozelnikov leading from lights out so far. We are only on lap number 4 though. One thing about the Singapore Grand Prix, it is a very long race. Especially when you have to watch like I did last night, unfortunately crashing out early. Well, very early, lap number 1, so ending up having to painfully watch 30 laps of a race that you should have been involved in, but it is what it is. So yeah, looking at the... Excuse me. Looking at the times, because Kozelnikov putting a 49.420. Havoc is 41.5 behind, so he's actually dropped 4/10 on that lap. There are a couple more into the pits now. Hans Buhr has come in for the intermediate. So I think we're approaching that crossover period. Havoc has made that time straight back up again. So I do think that the Inters are now potentially the tyre to be on. Trying to look at last lap times. Havoc with a 58.779. So 7/10 quicker than Kozelnikov put in. So it is certainly at the point now you want to come in and put on your intermediates. So Hans Buhr went for that early, dropping down into 5th place, but he's got a nice bit of space in front of him. Okay, he has double behind him. That double is still on the wet, so I think Hans Buhr can get these up to temperature. Can he make the undercut work? I think he might, but let's jump back at the front again. We have the sales are just keeping Kozelnikov absolutely honest, not letting him get away at all. Get down to 40.2 now, so certainly the Inters are the tyre that you want to be on. You've got some quite hefty gaps here as well, and the closest being obviously just under a second here for Salza, and then we've got 1.3 seconds of Dr. Scenic behind Havoc. But apart from that, we are quite spaced out at the moment. And here we go, Kazernikov and Salza into the pits. I'm going to jump on with Hans Buer just to see whether he can make this undercut work. Kazernikov is coming towards the end of the pits. So we were 3.5 to 4 seconds behind with Hans Buer. And we'll see what he comes out at. So he certainly closed the gap. He hasn't made the undercut work as in jumping them, but he has closed a couple of seconds, so we'll be nice and close. And we'll obviously have had one lap on those intermediates, so we'll have them up to temperature and we'll know where you can push and where you can't. So we now potentially have a three-way battle for the lead. Havoc is also closing in on the people in front. Double in 4th place, hasn't pitted yet, really should come in and get rid of those wets. I say unless we have more rain forecast, he's going to start losing more and more time. Chef JB coming in and getting rid of his set of wets to put on intermediates. So we just now have composite and double left or as the wet runners. Have a closing on Skipper there. Skipper's not easy to get by. He won't give you a position. He certainly doesn't make it easy for you. He likes to, you know, sort of keep a decent line. He's fair. Sometimes pushes the boundaries a bit, but I think we all do. So it's not going to be easy for Havoc to get past, especially on the street circuit of Marina Bay. Back at the front, I need to keep an eye on this because we've got a few gaps have now closed up since we have had the pit stops. And there's one of them. Double should have pitted before, he's now into the wall. Oh, don't get disqualified, please. Please, 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 please. The kind of thing this game would do. But hopefully Double will get going again, which he does. So luckily not too far to go to the pits, and he can get a new nose cone. But Hans Buer now putting the pressure on Salza, as I say, just having that one extra lap just to get the tyres up to temperature and just know where the limits are. These three are very, very close now, obviously with a 13-second gap back to Skipper, who is being hounded currently by Havoc. I think if Havoc could get past, he could start chipping away at the gap. Double does now come into the pits, and Composite continues on. I think he should probably be coming in at the end of this lap. So the circuit looks certainly at that point now that the intermediate is going to be the quicker tyre. But Hans just stuck at the moment behind Salza. And so it's one thing closing on this circuit, it's another getting past. One of those difficult circuits along with Hungary and Monaco. Very difficult to actually get a move to stick on them. And sometimes, certainly under intermediate conditions, it can end up just being a bit of a train. So I'm hoping that it either dries up or we get another fluttering of rain, which I do wonder as to why Composite is staying out on those wets. Perhaps we are expecting the rain to get heavier again. And it does seem to be looking at what is falling down from the skies at the moment. So whether it's going to get wet enough for wets, but it certainly does seem to be getting a bit heavier there. Havoc still struggling to get past Skipper. They're dropping a couple of seconds further now, so down to 15 seconds behind Hans Buer. So they're stretching the lead. The front three. We have a safety car. Why have we got a safety car? Who have we lost? The mighty Frax wasn't having a very good race, in fairness, and I think this is probably just the yeah, the end of it. So I'm not quite sure. Looks like they've cleared. Yeah, they've cleared it already. So this is going to neutralise the field. It's obviously going to be good news for some of them at the back. Obviously for Havoc, it's going to be really good news because that 17-second gap between himself and Skipper and the front three will be erased. Let's look in to see who has the fastest lap at the moment. I think it's Hans Buhr with a 155.885. So just having a quick look at the rain. I mean, current is 83% and 81%, so it has got heavier, but then it is supposed to ease off again and stop within about the next half an hour. So we should still see, we could see some drying conditions towards the end of the race. Whether we'll actually see it completely dry out, I'm not sure. Just depends how quickly it dries out around Singapore. Kosernikov comes around to collect the safety car. So Bert Mylander again he's done quite a lot of laps for us this week, I have to admit. But he takes the pace of the Singapore Grand Prix, so let's have a run through the order whilst we are here. So we have Kosernikov obviously in the lead, taking pole position and disappearing. Well, not disappearing, but certainly taking control and dragging Salzer along with him. Hans Buhr has been there or thereabouts, dropped her about 3 seconds behind under the wet conditions, but hitting early under inters, popping himself back up into play. Skipper was further 11 seconds back, but obviously the safety car now is going to neutralise that. Fourth we have Dr. Havoc. What happened to Havoc? Has pitted for another set of tyres. I missed that one. But yeah, Havoc has pitted for fresh inters now. I think he'll be looking at trying to take those well through to the end of the race, obviously with a couple of lap older tyres anyway. 7th position, so yeah, already done 6 laps on the other set of intermediates, so this way he gets a nice fresh set to take him potentially another 23 laps to the end of this race. We are a quarter of the way through. We've had a virtual safety car, we have had now a safety car. We lost, unfortunately, Nerdu, not quite sure what happened there, but seemed to lose him up in turn number 7, was closely followed by Pete the Pirate, I think a lap later. And then the Mighty Frax was the most recent retirement that has pulled out this safety car. So while we are under safety car, we'll just pull up the calendar. As I say, already this year we have been to Bahrain and China. As you see, Havoc winning in round 1 in Bahrain and Hans Buhr taking the winners, or the top step of the podium in China. So Singapore obviously today. We then have a 2-week break. Christmas, basically, Christmas and New Year, so have some downtime, enjoy yourself, but don't step away from your racing sim, get loads of practice in, and don't forget we have the Nations Cup taking part over the weekend just after Christmas as well. So please, if you're not taking part, please tune in and support us, and yeah, let's try and get the viewing figures up as high as we can on those. It would be good to see you. But yeah, after the break, we'll be back in Australia for round number 4. And then obviously out to Imola. And if I remember rightly, Imola is our first sprint weekend, though we have 3 this year, which will be Imola, Silverstone, and I believe Montreal in Canada. But I'm sure there'll be more social events that'll be taking place, obviously, and if you ever want to arrange a friendly, you know, please do. Just set yourself up a lobby, invite people, and I'm sure people will come. So just looking at a bit of news in, unfortunately, from Nerdy's crash. Apparently he was rear-ended and then had a flying, well, he thinks it was a Ferrari, probably something red, certainly seeing red afterwards, I'm sure he was, but took his wheel off. So unfortunately that was the end of Nerdy's race. So Nerdy, I hear you, mate. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you look at how I was taken out last night, I was crashed into at, I think it was 230 kilometers an hour. So I feel you, mate. So yeah, 4 corners. I did manage to get a bit further than you yesterday. I managed around to turn number 14. So but yeah, let's chalk this one off and look forward to Australia. Right, so back to the race. Safety car is not coming in this lap. Obviously we're waiting for the field to catch up. Composite has been lapped, has he, and is in, yeah, so Composite's in a horrible position. Well, I think he's sitting 1, 2, 3, about 4th in the queue, but he's last on the track, so he's going to have a lot of fast cars wanting to get past him. So just waiting for the safety car to come in. Okay, so we are on lap number 11, currently under safety car conditions. And Phantom's off. What's happened to Phantom? What? Well, I'll be honest, he did say earlier that he hadn't had any practice for this race. But I didn't even see you go out, my friend, so Hans Buer picking up a 5-second penalty for ignoring blue flags. Yellow flags. I'm not sure how that can be under safety car conditions unless he overtook, but doesn't look like he has, so I think that could well be contested afterwards. But we are waiting to go, and it looks like Kozelnikov has, well, not only has he gone, but he has bolted. He's almost a second clear already as we're crossing the start-finish line. Just running a bit further back, what do we have? We have Composite there, strategically getting out the way just enough so his teammate can get a bit of a gap on him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, in fairness. He didn't block so far. We will keep an eye on it though. But Phantom, what happened? I don't know if you're in the chat or, but yeah, I'd like to know what happened there. The Composite can now pick up a 5-second penalty for ignoring blue flags. I think he has pretty strategically held up a few Okay, well, moving on. Back to the front Havoc corner now, and Fairy Tale exchanging positions. Composite, I'm not quite sure what he's doing now, trying to get out of the way. Which is not easy on this track under the best of circumstances, so I think he has now done it. He has, so he's now a lap behind everybody, and he can get himself back onto the throttle and hopefully just try and keep up with them. Just enjoy the last part of the race, but obviously being a lap down is never fun. So Hans Buer with that penalty, which I do wonder if that will be contested. Lap number 13, and we've already lost 4 drivers. Havoc there, having a bit of trouble with double trouble. A Fairy Tale just ahead. So yeah, I think I was right. It does look like Composite did spin somebody, but I say that's one for the commentators. I think if I've obviously called it on stream, that can be used along with anything else. But anyway, let's jump back to the front and give them a little bit of airtime, because they're still separated by just under a second. And then the 3 of these have that 6-second gap to Skipper now. So got a nice little buffer there. Havoc not having the best of race. Currently down in 10th, picking up 1 point. But he'll be looking at improving on that if he can. He is tight up behind double, but he's being behind is one thing. As I say, making a move is something completely different. So he's looking in the chat. Obviously, I've been reading some of them out. But good evening to Stuart, Daniel, and Kai, Oliver as well. Thanks for joining us, Kai. Looking forward to seeing you back on track with your new wheel that you'll be getting in a couple of days' time when Santa Claus brings it for you. So look forward to seeing you on track and getting quicker and quicker. Havoc now looks like making the move up the inside. Just doesn't have enough to put himself past Connor there. Composite picking up another penalty. Okay, so let's jump back to the front and keep an eye on these guys, because I think this could be very close towards the end. Obviously still with 18 laps or 17 plus the one that we are on. These 3 certainly look like being in a class of their own today. As I think Havoc probably would have the pace, but he's not had the luckiest of races so far. Been involved in a few incidents dropping him down the grid. So currently in 10th, I say 1 point, but I think he can improve on that. So the rain seems to have eased up a little bit from what I can see. Certainly from what I was looking out of the cockpit earlier. It's yeah, certainly eased up compared to what it was. So it does seem that inters are going to be the way to go. But is going to keep dry. Yeah, Kai just saying he can't wait to get his new wheel. Obviously, with school holidays coming up, he can get some good practice on. And we look forward to winning your first race. We know that you are more than capable. And yeah, I look forward to cheering that on. So yeah, get practicing on that, Kai. But don't think you can sit on it straight away and you'll be quicker. It will take time to set up, get yourself right. But you will really, really enjoy it once you're there. So yeah, I look forward to seeing that. So Havoc still unable to get past Double down in 10th place. And MBB still stuck behind Dr. Scenic as well, but Skipper now dropping 10 seconds behind Hansbuer. I say Hansbuer does have a lot of pace. I say he has driven for us in division, or driven with us in Division 4, and was by no means a backmarker. And I also believe he's won a Division O, so the Open Division. I think he's won a race there this year. And again, that's no mean feat because we have everybody in there, Division 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And some drivers that aren't actually assigned to a division. But yeah, to win a race there is quite impressive. But I also give a big shout out, obviously, to our first Open Division champion, which this season goes to Bogorovsky. Qualifies himself for the Race of Champions at the end of season, which he obviously, well, as we know, he was heavily involved in the last one, and I'll be honest, was the rightful winner. Pretty much dominated the race and deserved the win, but for a mishap in the final corner. But be good to see him qualifying again. And who else are we going to have this year? We've got some very, very close divisions and many drivers that can win on their day. So, you know, to actually pull out sort of 2 or 3 drivers from a division that could qualify is going to be difficult. But I'm just jumping with Havoc here because he seems to be closing again on the back of Double. He just can't get a good enough drive out of turn number 23 onto this straight. And picking up a 3-second time penalty there as well. So it's just going from bad to worse. I think sometimes when you're behind, frustration gets over and you just miss your braking point, turn too early, and that's it. And all of a sudden you've picked up your 3-second penalty. And so yeah, that's going to hurt him, but we'll see where he can end up by the end of the race. But out front, Kazernikov still in control as he has been, well, pretty much since taking pole position. And I don't think he's been led on any lap as Salza also getting away from the lights and picking up P2 early, and Hansbuer P3. So and that's how it has stayed. So they've stayed in their grid positions, but have pulled away hugely from everybody else. So, and if you're looking between Hansbuer and Skipper, we've got a 13.5 second gap, and the safety car only came in what, 6 or 7 laps ago. So it does show the pace differential there, but also it could just be that they are suited for this track. But I say these have been the top 3. So Hans is all over the back of Salza now. He wants to make a move. He wants to get past and put pressure on to Kazernikov. But it's not easy here. I mean, certainly dry conditions, into conditions is next to impossible. Phantom there leaving the session, obviously after his retirement. So have a good Christmas, Phantom. Happy New Year. We look forward to seeing you in Australia. But one thing I do like about Division 5 is the improvement that you see within the drivers. I mean, a lot of them come in and they, you know, perhaps at the slower end because they're new to league racing or, you know, to online racing, any racing of sorts other than the AI, to be honest with you. But it's just wonderful to see them get better as the season goes on. And, you know, I know it's something that Bogorovsky is very, very proud of, is when he looks at people that we've had in the past, like Dimex and No Jug, that have come in and started off in Division 6 or Division 5, and you know, they've tried, they've worked, they've got quicker and they've got faster, and now they are good drivers up in Division 1 who also represent our esports team. And it's so rewarding to see that happen. So, you know, it does prove if you do put in the time and effort that it can be rewarding. Or you're like me and you can put in 50 laps and get slower. So Kazanikov taking the fastest lap there with a 54.397, slightly pulling away from Salzer now, who has Hans Buer all over the back of him. Good evening. Here is the legend himself in the chat, Bogorovsky. Good evening, Bog. Good to have you here. So MBB still stuck just behind Dr. Scenic, and Havoc still just 2/10 behind Double, just unable to get himself past until now. And Havoc makes the move up the inside, a good clean move, gets a decent drive that time out of turn 23 onto the start finish line, and just does enough. So we'll see how quickly he can now close down on Fairy Tale and try and work his way up the points. But Hans Buer still all over the back of Salzer, and Salzer is actually now closing back in on Kazanikov. So lap number 18, so we've still got 13 laps to go. And are we going to see any changes in weather before the end of the race? Not sure. I mean, looking on board, does look like the rain has potentially stopped. We could have a dry end to this race. I say still far too wet at the moment, obviously too much spray coming up off of the tyres, but we are getting quicker. I mean, it's 2 seconds quicker on, yeah, I mean, we're getting quicker and quicker, 0.7 quicker than the previous lap there. So we are seeing the track starting to dry up. So are we going to get to a point that the changeover is going to come, and who is going to have the balls to pull the trigger first? Could be someone like Havoc, who has absolutely nothing to lose. But look at the pace difference. He's already up on the tail of Fairy Tale, and 3.3 seconds clear of Double, who he was behind lap after lap after lap. We've seen it so many times on street circuits, certainly in real life. So in Monaco, for instance, I think he was 91, was it, or 92? Mansell and Senna, just lap after lap after lap, just could not get past you. Position your car in the right place, fairly, and you will, people just can't get past you. Okay, we have Dr. Scenic and MBB closing up on the back of Skipper now. So Skipper, as we saw earlier, getting a bit of help from his teammate Composite to They just put out a bit of a gap on the cars behind, just to give him a chance to get his tyres warmed up and hold position, which so far has worked. But the front three still line astern, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 line astern, 4, 5 and 6 line astern, and I think soon we're going to have 7, 8 and 9 as well. It seems the DTR cars go 3 by 3. Hands just dropping off ever so slightly on the back of Sousa now. So whether that is down to tyre deg, not 100% sure. Does look like he is slightly low on ERS. MBB has made a mistake. He's now 2.5 seconds back. Has lost his front right end plate, so that's why he's losing time. So I expect him to come into the pits at the end of this lap. But it certainly has stopped raining. There's no more water splash on the lens other than the water that is already there. The spray seems to be diminishing. I don't think we're going to be too far away from soft above. Soft, you're not going to get softs to the end. It's a bit of a stretch. You probably want to go for a set of mediums or stretch it out for a few minutes. Kosernikov comes into the pit, so he could be that it gets a penalty. He could be the first to go for the dry tyres, but at what cost? For the 5-second penalty, he goes on to the hard tyres as well. Do wonder if that might be a mistake, because I would have thought, I mean, certainly the tyre that you would go onto would be medium. He's gonna find it very hard to get warm up on those hards, obviously with a 5-second time penalty as well. That has probably just about killed the race for him. Hans Buat now coming. Hans lost so much time in the pits there. Oh, he had a 5-second penalty to serve, didn't he? Oh, that's unfortunate because he can't contest that now. So Hans Buat we'll see if he can close up. I will keep an eye on those times. The cars behind are continuing on inters. Havoc back up into 4th place, but has not made a stop for tyres. Just keeping an eye on the mediums. I don't know, I'm not sure. I think the inters are still the quicker tyre at the moment, but whether that's down to warm-up, we'll see. But Sousa is all over the back of Kosernikov, who is struggling like hell to get any heat into those hard tyres. It's bad enough when the track is completely dry, but when it is damp like this, they're just trying to find out where the braking point is. Hans with another penalty. Did he get a 3-second penalty for cutting the corner? So he clears one penalty and gets another one. Sousa now sitting in a ideal position because he can just sit behind Kosernikov for these last 10 laps. He doesn't even have to overtake him with that 5-second penalty. If he sits behind him, he can't argue a speeding in the pit lane. So that penalty will stand. So as long as he stays within 5 seconds, he will win his first race of the season. I think it might be his first race of his DTR career as well. And that will give us 3 different winners in the opening 3 races. So fastest lap currently 52.0 with the man that we are on board with now, who is looking at closing on Kosernikov, who goes defensive on the inside and keeps the corner. Sousa now looking like he wants to get past. He's a man on a mission soon. The other intermediates are now making their pit stop to go on to the mediums. Connor up into 8th place, so it's made up a couple of places. But look at this, Hans Buer is chipping away at the gap at the front. Obviously still with that 3 second, I think it's a 3 second penalty. Let's have a look. Details. Yeah, 3 second penalty. So all with 3 seconds except Kosernikov, who has the 5 seconds. And everybody now on to dry tyres to the end of the race, obviously unless they have an accident and need to pit. But Sousa still half a second behind, so he hasn't managed to take advantage of being on the softer compound. Whereas it looks like Hans Buer behind is taking advantage of that. So that gap was at 7 seconds at one point, now down to just over 2.5 seconds. So Hans is a man on a mission, but he would still need to get past Sousa and pull a 3 second gap to win this race. And Sousa looks like he is going to go for the move up the inside, thinks better about it. Yep, I think he looked for the undercut on Kosernikov there, but it just wasn't on. Hey, no joke, good evening. Big shout out to our D4 commentator, and as I said earlier, our eSport driver. Good to have you all here watching. We've had a mixed race. We started on the wets, went on to the inters. It got heavier again with the rain, but stayed on the intermediates, and then so drying up now with the last 8.5 laps to go. The top 3 are as they started on the grid and have pretty much been together for all of the race. Kosernikov obviously having that 5 second penalty now for speeding in the pit lane is a bit of a bugger. It means Sousa behind him has only got to stick with him, or certainly within 5 seconds, and will win the race. Hans Buer closing up ever so slightly. Well, I say ever so slightly, there's another half a second he's taken off of the cars in front on that lap. And then loses it. I think he's... Hans Buer had a moment in turn 23, so has dropped back to 10 seconds. So really for him now it's... and Sousa going for the move. He wants to take the win on the track and goes in a little bit too... Oh, is this going to be close? Oh, it's going to be close. Not enough room on the outside. Do we have any damage there? He's not giving up. They are back on the inside. So we've got a bit of a... almost a bit like kart racing here. Let's give it a little gentle nudge as you make your way through. But... at the end of that, we are as we were. Kosernikov is still in the lead. Sousa took the lead and then lost the lead. But I am just looking. I don't think anybody has any damage. Sousa now going for the move. I think, in fairness, Kosernikov might have just let that one go. I think, as I say, with a 5 second penalty, if somebody like that is going to be aggressive behind, it is probably better to just let them past and then sit behind them. So probably sensible there by Kosernikov, but it depends what mentality he's got. If he's got the racer in him that it's you know, I want to cross the line, even with a 5 second penalty, but it is not worth the risk. Dr. Scenic now very close on the back of Skipper, so this seems to be the main battle that we're going to be having going on here. Skipper in 4th. Looks like he's struggling for pace a bit, but he's doing really well keeping Dr. Scenic and MBB behind him. I'm sure Havoc will be loving it as well if he can continue to hold him up, and Havoc can pull in time, but 9 seconds over 6.5 laps, I think might be a bit extreme even for championship leader Havoc. Dr. Scenic all over the back of Skipper. He's just trying to find somewhere. Skipper is out of ERS, so Dr. Scenic will have his DRS open and makes the move up the inside there, and I think Skipper is going to lose a second position. Is he to MBB? He doesn't manage to keep hold of that for the time being, but I don't think it's going to be long before MBB makes his way up into 5th place, dropping Skipper down into 6th. Skipper starting 5th on the grid, so currently holding his starting position. But also Skipper without any penalties, so MBB with a 3 second behind him. So again, if it gets to MBB now with 6 seconds behind him, so it makes it even more comfortable that if someone's going to fight, just let them go. So back at the front, Kazenikov has let Salza go. I think it's just not worth fighting, obviously, with that 5 second penalty anyway. All he needs to do now is make sure that he stays 2 seconds clear of Hans Buer, just to take into account those penalties. Hans Buer as well will look at securing himself a podium place if he keeps going. So Kazenikov there picking up another warning, I believe. Pen situation, let's get the pens up. So Kazenikov with 5 seconds, Hans Buer with 3, then MBB now with that 6 seconds worth of penalty. Havoc and Chef, oh no, sorry, Havoc came into the pit, so I had a bit of a panic on there, thought I was missing an overtake. But yes, so Hans Buer with a 3 second penalty, MBB 6, Fairy Tale 3, Havoc with 3 seconds, and Composite with 3 seconds as well. I'll leave those up for the last few laps so we can see what is going on. But MBB still all over the back of Skipper, so with that 6 seconds of penalty would have to go hell for leather when he gets past him if he wanted to pull out that kind of a gap. Can't see it happening now, but then again, it only takes a spin and you've lost yourself a good few seconds, so can't see it, but it is possible. But gaps are now pretty much opening out, and MBB deciding to a bit of loss of traction on the back end there, probably going a bit too fast just into the final corner 23, getting on the throttle a bit too early, and around he goes. So that is the end of his charge for a potential 5th place. But what he needs to do now is just keep an eye over his shoulder, because he is, although he's 7 seconds clear, he's got 3 seconds additional of penalty, so that gap is only 4 seconds. Skipper now looking quite comfortable in 5th place. Dr. Scenic working his way up pretty quietly to 4th place from 11th on the grid. They made up some ground at the start with the small collision. Managed to keep himself out of trouble, and I think just drive right the way around the outside, make up, I think it was 6 or 7 places he made up then. So yeah, up into 4th place and looking solid at the moment. Hans Buer ahead, as I say, 11 seconds now behind Salza. I think he's just driving now. Last few laps bring it home to pick up those 15 points for 3rd place on the podium. Kazenikov led, as I say, pretty much from, well, he did lead from lights out until recently. So he's had a good race. Unfortunately, that speeding in the pit lane has, well, it ruined any chances he had. But still a good race by him. But Sousa has been pretty solid out. You know, he's I say pulled away, qualified second, continued, pulled away in second, stuck in second place, and just put the pressure under Kozernikov really. And I think potentially, obviously, that's what's made Kozernikov speed in the pits, just trying to get as quick a pit stop as he can, and an advantage on his rival on the track. Just push it a little bit too hard, and picking up that 5-second penalty. So 3 laps to go when we cross the start-finish line. Just give Chef a little bit of time. Not actually seen much of him today. I think he's just had one of those races where he's just caught up sort of a lower midfield. But looking to bring home 2 points for the AlphaTauri. I've noticed double in front in the Williams is closing in on the Red Bull of Fairy Tale. As I say, Fairy Tale with that 3 seconds worth of penalties as well, so it's still again not worth going for the overtake if you don't need to. But he's he's just staying within sort of just a 1.2, 1.3 seconds, but chipping away at it ever so slightly. And we'll see if he will go for a move on the track. Looking at the gaps that we have now, I think other than a potential accident or spin, I can't see any positions on track changing. But we are obviously going to see a few change. 41.1 there by Havoc as well, just to take an extra point. So we'll be looking at finishing in 10th. We'll get 1 point and an extra point for the fastest lap. The 41.1 is only 0.3 quicker than Sousa is doing, or has been doing, in the lead there. At the moment he's lapping about 42.6. Just looking, Sousa does have 2 warnings as well, so he's very close to picking up a 3-second pen, but now with a 4-second lead, and obviously Kozernikov with that 5-second speeding in the pit lane penalty to serve. I think certainly could be a bit more relaxed about. So Sousa now on his penultimate lap. 4.3 seconds clear of Kozernikov in second. In third place, Hans Buer for the 14 seconds back, then a gap of 22 seconds to Dodicinik in fourth, and Skipper rounding out the top 5, starting in 5th. Will look to finish in 5th as well. And double is closing in on the back of Fairy Tale. So Composite getting out of the way, they're being lapped. But is double going to go for a move on the last lap? And the last thing he wants is to push too hard. Double in 8th only has 1 warning to his name. So it does have the ability just to push it that little bit harder, see if he could Oh, and I think that was Composite hitting the back of, I mean, Composite's only what, a lap or 2 laps down, 3 laps down. So yeah, obviously completely worth racing. So anyway, let's jump back on board with Sousa, who is on his final lap of the race, deep into sector number 2. Round turns number 10, 11, 12 and 13, or the old Singapore sling as we remember it. Obviously incorporated in 2008, the Singapore Grand Prix. And it's been pretty much a fixture ever since. Ever so slight changes to the track layout, but not much has been needed. So right, okay, let's jump on board with Sousa just for the final sector of his final lap. As I say, hounded Kazernikov for a long time, and then obviously with Kazernikov picking up that 5-second penalty was just enough. I think probably just to break him and pushing through. So Sousa comes round to win his first Grand Prix of the season, and I believe his first DTR career win as well, so congratulations to him. Kazernikov bringing it home in second place in the Aston Martin in third. Hans is still happy with that. He's still weaving about. I think give him a podium, he would have taken that at the start of the race, and brings it home in third. Dr. Scenic will be next to cross the line. That's a fantastic effort from him from 11th on the grid. And we'll bring it home in fourth place for the Alfa Romeo team. And he does indeed. So well done to him for fourth place. Fifth place is going to be Skipper. A good solid drive from Skipper again. Started fifth and finished fifth. So he is at least consistent there. MBB06 will be next across the line in the Mercedes. Had a bit of an eventful race today. A few spins, a couple of altercations, but manages to bring it home in sixth place for points for the Mercedes. Then further back we have Fairy Tale, who is going to cross. He's got no front wing at all, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on with these two. But anyway, Fairy Tale is going to cross the line in seventh, but drop to eighth as Double jumps him because of a penalty. AlphaTauri of Chef JB coming home in ninth place, and Havoc Connor taking 10th place. Obviously 11th place was Composite after being 2 laps down. So driver of the day there going to Double. I think worked his way from 15th up into 7th place. So an 8th place gain there for him. There we have Sousa coming out to celebrate. A little bit of a boxing move there, a bit of shadow boxing. Obviously quite happy with that, and congratulations to him. Congratulations to the podium. So Kazernikov, looked like you had that in control today until that 5-second pit lane penalty. I think probably just broke your spirits a bit, but well done for keeping out there. And Hans as well, picking up another podium, so that keeps him strongly in the title fight. Obviously Havoc finishing down in, I believe it was 10th place. We'll lose a bit of ground there. So here we go, let's run through the grid. So we have Salzacino taking his maiden win of the season. Kazernikov picking up second place. Third place goes to Hans Brewer, so that is your podium. Then Dr. Scenic picking up places to finish fourth. Skipper in fifth. Sixth is MBB. In seventh we have Double. Eighth Fairy Tale. Ninth Chef JB. 10th was Havoc Connor, also bringing home the fastest lap, so getting 2 points for his troubles today. We then have Composite in 11th place. I think he was 3 laps down in the end. And our non-finishers are Prize Phantom, Mighty Frax, Pete the Pirate, and the unfortunate Nerdy getting involved on the first lap. So that was the Singapore Grand Prix. Right, well, thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. I hope you have enjoyed it. That was Division 5 Singapore. Congratulations to our winners and to everybody else for some good racing there. We now, as I say, look forward to our 2-week Christmas break, and we will be back. I'll pop the calendar up. As you can see, we will be back on the 12th of January for the Australian Grand Prix. But so don't forget, in the break we also have the Nations Cup going on, so please do tune in and support us on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed to us, please do. Well, I think all that is left is for me to wish you all a very, very happy Christmas and a very happy New Year. Thank you ever so much for your participation in all the races here. It's a pleasure to watch and be part of. From the admin team, Bogrovsky, Wesley, Shabby, Mamba and myself, Nellboy. Thank you ever so much. Have a happy Christmas and we'll see you in the new year. Take care, everybody. Good night.